Welcome back to Apocalypse here as we continue on our summary/review of Bruce McCormack's The Humility of the Eternal Son. We're going to be continuing on in chapter 6. This is the second exegetical chapter in McCormack's book. Today we're going to be talking about the Gospel of John and the Christological subject there. So in John, there's no doubt that this gospel has a logos Christology in some sense. A pre-existent word or logos appears twice in 1:1 and 1:14. So who is this word that's being spoken of, this logos? McCormack leans on Barth's exegesis of the prologue and his reading of hutas, or I guess this. Most readers understand verse 2 as recapitulating the first two clauses of verse 1, leading to the identity of the this being an abstract word. But Barth sees the hutas pointing forward to verse 15 and also verse 30, where John the Baptist is speaking about Jesus of Nazareth. This means we don't know who the this is in verse 1 until we get to verses 15 and 30, where this is clearly Jesus of Nazareth. And this is further corroborated by the identity of the light, which is eschatological, and life, which is redemptive, not some sort of natural principle of life, in the midst of darkness, clearly being about and revealed in Jesus himself in John's Gospel. Now, Richard Bauckham has famously challenged Barth's reading, but he does so on strictly linguistic grounds, on the meaning of hutas. But he thereby overlooks what Barth says about verses 3 and 5, 10 through 12, and the key move about the true light in verse 9, which connects immediately to Jesus' coming into the world, a self-revelation of God in Christ. Barth's kind of forward-looking reading of verse 2 comes out unscathed. The this in verse 2 is, quote, according to McCormack, an anticipatory reference to Jesus of Nazareth, end quote. This figure of the word is only identified once he is revealed in the text in verse 15 to be Jesus. To quote McCormack, quote, the concept of the word appears in verse 1 as a placeholder for one whose identity is only made clear in verse 15, end quote. Now, the place being held is God's self-speaking. To quote Barth, and God was the word. As Barth reads that sort of third clause in verse 1, only in the light of verse 15 and John the Baptist's witness do we see that Jesus is the word. Jesus isn't a sort of predicate of the word whose identity is already known. The word is a predicate of Jesus by way of anticipation. There is no room in this account of John for an abstract word who is not in himself Jesus, as McCormack puts it. And that means, too, that the only begotten Son is already in himself, in pretemporal eternity, Jesus Christ, by way of anticipation of the event of incarnation in time, end quote. So the immanent Trinity can no longer be conceived as a closed reality without relation to Jesus to come. In John, Jesus is the Word both in eternity, that is by anticipation, in the way that he is in time, in concrete realization. And all of this, of course, makes sense of the I am sayings in John, right? So at the end of the day, the Christological subject in Paul, as we talked about a couple of videos ago, and the four Gospels is the God human in his divine human unity. So in the next couple of videos, we're going to get into McCormack's constructive work in his own attempt to repair Chalcedon, and it's going to be fun. So I hope you stick around for that. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Leave a comment, if you will, whether positive or negative. Doesn't really matter. And with that, this has been Apocalypse here. Christianity you can live with. I look forward to seeing you all in the next video.